The silence before the storm. The Dominion had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. Their vast empire stretched across 10,000 star systems, each one held in an iron grip that crushed any thought of resistance. Species that once traveled the stars freely now lived as subjects, their technologies restricted, their movements monitored, their very thoughts scrutinized by the ever-watching overlords. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the hidden station Defiance, gazing at the stars that seemed so peaceful yet held so much suffering. The station floated in the shadow of a rogue planet, one of the few places in the galaxy where the Dominion's sensors couldn't reach. Here, in the darkness between stars, humanity had built their last refuge. It had been 50 years since the Dominion discovered Earth, 50 years since humanity's first steps into the galaxy ended in catastrophe. The Dominion had given them the same choice they gave every species: submit completely or face annihilation. Earth's leaders chose submission, believing they could preserve something of humanity under alien rule. They were wrong. The Dominion stripped Earth of its resources, scattered its population across labor worlds, and destroyed every trace of human culture they could find. Books burned in great pyres visible from orbit. Museums were reduced to rubble. The Internet, humanity's great repository of knowledge, was wiped clean. Or so the Dominion believed. Sarah turned from the window as footsteps echoed through the chamber. Dr. James Park approached, his face illuminated by the datapad he carried. His eyes held the kind of excitement that only came with significant discoveries. "Commander, you need to see this," James said, his voice barely containing his enthusiasm. "The archaeological team on Titan made a discovery. They found one of the old data vaults completely intact." Sarah's heart skipped. The data vaults were legend among the scattered human survivors. Before Earth fell, a group of scientists had hidden copies of human knowledge in secret locations throughout the solar system. Most were destroyed when the Dominion glassed Mars and Europa, but rumors persisted that some survived. "What's in it?" Sarah asked, taking the datapad. "Everything," James breathed. "Military history, tactical manuals, engineering schematics, but that's not the most important part. Look at this." The screen showed archived footage from Earth's past. Wars, certainly, but also moments of incredible human achievement.
The moon landing.
The fall of the Berlin Wall. Ordinary people standing against tanks in Tiananmen Square. Protesters facing water cannons. Scientists working through the night to cure diseases. Athletes pushing beyond their limits. Artists creating beauty from nothing. "The Dominion thinks they understand us," James continued. "They cataloged us as a level 4 species. Moderately intelligent, physically average, suitable for labor. They never knew what we really are." Sarah studied the files, her mind racing. The Dominion's great weakness was their arrogance. They believed their 3,000-year rule had made them invincible. They had conquered hundreds of species, each one falling into line after the first display of overwhelming force. But they had never faced humans who knew their own history, who understood what their species was capable of when pushed to the brink. A communication alert interrupted her thoughts. Lieutenant Commander Rico Martinez appeared on the main screen, his scarred face grim. Rico commanded one of the 3 human stealth ships that gathered intelligence throughout Dominion space. "Commander, we've made contact with something unexpected," Rico reported. "We found a ship drifting near the Kelros Nebula. It's not Dominion." "Survivors from one of the conquered worlds?" Sarah asked. "No, ma'am. They claim to be from the Zafrani Commonwealth. They say they've been in hiding for over 100 years, running from the Dominion. Commander, there are 12 different species on that ship. They've been gathering others who escaped the initial conquests." Sarah felt a spark of hope. Humanity wasn't alone in their resistance. "Bring them here carefully. Make sure you're not followed." 3 days later, the refugee ship docked with Defiance Station. Sarah met the delegation in the conference room, studying the diverse group before her. The Zafrani were tall, ethereal beings with crystalline features. Beside them stood the sturdy Brocan, silicon-based life forms who could survive in the vacuum of space. There were others too, each representing a species the Dominion claimed to have completely subjugated. The Zafrani leader, who introduced herself as Luminara, spoke first. Her voice resonated like wind chimes. "We have heard whispers of humans who refuse to bow. We came to see if the stories were true." "What stories?" Sarah asked. "That humans are different," Luminara replied. "Every species the Dominion conquered followed the same pattern. They fought briefly, saw the futility, and surrendered. But humans, you lost everything and still didn't break. You disappeared into the void and continued to resist. The Dominion fears you, though they would never admit it. They fear us. Sarah couldn't hide her surprise. We're scattered, outnumbered, outgunned. The broken representative, a being called Granite Voice, rumbled his response. You misunderstand fear, human. The Dominion fears what you represent. They built their empire on the belief that all species would eventually submit to superior force. But humans proved that wrong. You adapted, you hid, you survived, and now you're growing stronger. Luminara leaned forward, her crystalline eyes reflecting the station's lights. We've been watching the Dominion for decades. They're stretched thin, controlling so many systems. Their forces are spread across the galaxy, maintaining order through fear alone. If someone were to strike at multiple points simultaneously, it would cause chaos, Sarah finished. They'd have to choose which fires to put out first. Exactly, Luminara said. We have 63 hidden cells across the galaxy, species the Dominion believes are extinct or completely controlled. We lack the strength to challenge them directly, but we could support a coordinated rebellion. Sarah stood, pacing to the window. Earth hung in her memory, blue and beautiful before the Dominion ships darkened its skies. She thought of the billions still enslaved, working in Dominion factories and mines. She thought of children born into servitude, never knowing freedom. Show them the archives, she said to James. Over the next hours, the alien delegates watched humanity's history unfold. They saw humans at their worst and their best. They watched civilizations rise and fall, saw people fight against impossible odds, witnessed the incredible adaptability and resilience that defined the species. When it finished, silence filled the room. Finally, Granite Voice spoke. We have misjudged you. The Dominion classified humans as unremarkable. We see now that was their greatest error. Your species has something unique, Luminara added. You don't just survive adversity, you grow stronger from it. Every time you were pushed down throughout your history, you rose up more determined. The Dominion has given you the greatest adversity possible. Sarah turned to face them. Then let's show them what humans do with adversity. But first we need to wake up our people. The Dominion has kept humanity scattered and demoralized for 50 years. They need to remember who they are. The alliance that formed that day would change the galaxy. Sarah and her team began planning something unprecedented, a coordinated uprising across thousands of systems. But more importantly, they began spreading the archives to every human settlement they could reach. On mining colonies, exhausted workers watched footage of their ancestors building wonders. On factory worlds, enslaved technicians saw humans splitting the atom and reaching for the stars. On agricultural planets, farmers learned about revolutions that changed the world. The message spread in whispers and hidden data streams. Remember who you are. Remember what you're capable of. Marcus Vale, a captain in the Dominion's forced labor battalions, received the transmission while overseeing mining operations on Corvus 7th. He watched it in secret, tears streaming down his face as he saw Earth as it once was. The next day, he began quietly organizing his fellow humans. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. The Dominion, in their arrogance, noticed nothing. Their automated systems reported normal productivity. Their observers saw compliant workers. They had no idea that beneath the surface, humanity was remembering its strength. The species they had dismissed as ordinary was preparing to show them why humans had survived everything their own world had thrown at them. Sarah stood in Defiance Station's command center, watching as reports came in from across the galaxy. Hidden cells activated. Supplies were quietly redistributed. Skills were shared. The Zephrani and their allies provided technology and intelligence. Slowly, carefully, a network of resistance grew. How long before we're ready? James asked. Sarah studied the tactical displays. 6 months, maybe less. The Dominion is about to learn what happens when you push humanity too far. The stars continued their eternal dance, indifferent to the drama below. But in the darkness between them, in hidden stations and secret meetings, the spark of rebellion grew into a flame. The galaxy had burned under the Dominion's rule for 3,000 years. It was time for humanity to answer. When humanity answered, 6 months had passed since the alliance formed. Captain Marcus Vale crouched in the service tunnel beneath the main processing facility on Corvus 7. his team of 30 humans and 12 Zafrani rebels behind him. Today, across 1,500 systems, the coordinated uprising would begin. Marcus checked his chronometer. 3 minutes until the galaxy changed forever. He thought about his daughter, born into slavery, who had never seen Earth's blue skies. Today, he would give her a chance at freedom. "Remember," he whispered to his team, "we're not trying to hold the facility. We're sending a message. Hit the communication array, broadcast the archives, and get out. Other teams will handle the rest." Across the galaxy, similar conversations were happening. The brilliance of Sarah Chen's plan wasn't in its military might, but in its psychological warfare. The Dominion had built their empire on the belief that they were invincible. Today, humanity would shatter that illusion. The chronometer hit 0. Marcus and his team burst from the tunnel into the facility's control room. The Dominion overseers, tall gray beings with multiple arms and eyes, barely had time to react before stun weapons dropped them. Marcus's tech specialist, Lisa Wong, immediately began working on the communication systems. 60 seconds until I can broadcast," Lisa said, her fingers flying over the alien controls she had secretly studied for months. Outside, alarms began wailing. Marcus could hear the Dominion security forces mobilizing. They had minutes at most, but minutes were all they needed. "Broadcasting now," Lisa announced. Across Corvus 7th, every screen, every communication device, every neural implant the Dominion used to control the population suddenly displayed the same thing: humanity's history. The archives flooded the planet's networks, showing Earth before the fall, showing humans achieving the impossible, showing that the Dominion could be resisted. Similar scenes erupted across the galaxy. On Kepler Station, enslaved human engineers reversed the gravitational processors, causing the massive facility to tear itself apart. On the agricultural world of Haven, farmers who had pretended to be simple laborers revealed they had been biochemists and geneticists on Earth, releasing targeted viruses that destroyed the Dominion's crop controls while leaving food supplies intact. The Dominion's response was swift and brutal. Overlord Zexatheta, Supreme Commander of the Inner Territories, ordered immediate suppression of all uprisings. Warships were dispatched. Orbital bombardments were authorized. The Dominion would show no mercy. But something unexpected happened. On Terminus Prime, when Dominion forces arrived to crush the rebellion, they found not just humans fighting back, but Broken, Zafrani, and dozen other species. The uprising had given courage to every oppressed race. The galaxy that had been silent for 3 millennia suddenly roared with defiance. Sarah Chen watched from Defiance Station as reports flooded in. Some uprisings succeeded, others were crushed. But every victory, no matter how small, inspired 10 more rebellions. The Dominion's forces, spread thin across their vast empire, couldn't be everywhere at once. "Commander," James Park called out, "you need to see this." On the main screen, a Dominion battlecruiser appeared. It was massive, bristling with weapons that could crack a moon. But something was wrong with it. Explosions rippled across its hull from within. "What's happening?" Sarah asked. "The human maintenance crews," James said with a grin. Turns out the Dominion never bothered to learn how their human slaves were maintaining their ships. They've been installing hidden vulnerabilities for years, waiting for this moment. Across the galaxy, Dominion ships began experiencing mysterious failures. Engines died mid-flight. Weapon systems reversed their targeting. Life support failed in command sections while remaining active in crew quarters. The humans who had been forced to service these vessels had turned them into traps. Overlord Zexatheta stood in his command throne, his multiple eyes displaying different emotions as reports of disasters poured in. His aide approached cautiously. "Supreme Overlord, the situation deteriorates. The uprising has spread to 3,000 systems. Our forces cannot contain it." "Impossible," Zexatheta hissed. "We are the Dominion. We have ruled for 3 millennia. The humans, Supreme Overlord. They're different from the others. They don't just fight us, they inspire others to fight. Every species we conquered is rising with them." Zexatheta's eyes focused on the tactical display showing the spreading rebellion like a virus across his empire. He had to act decisively. "Prepare the Hammer of Silence." The aide stepped back in horror. "Supreme Overlord, the hammer hasn't been used in 1,000 years. It will destroy entire systems. Then the galaxy will learn the price of defiance." The Hammer of Silence was the Dominion's ultimate weapon, a device that could destabilize a star, causing it to go supernova and destroy everything in a solar system. They had used it only once before, erasing an entire species from existence. Now they would use it on Earth. Sarah received the intelligence from a HFY spy network. The Dominion was moving the hammer toward Earth system. In 72 hours, humanity's birth world would be destroyed. We can't let that happen, Sarah said, her voice steel. Even if Earth is barely habitable now, it's still our home. It's the symbol of everything we're fighting for. What do you propose? Luminara asked, her crystalline form shimmering with concern. Sarah pulled up the tactical display.
We go on the offensive.
Not guerrilla tactics this time. A direct assault on the hammer before it reaches Earth. That's suicide, someone protested. The hammer is surrounded by the Dominion's elite fleet. Yes, Sarah agreed. Which is why they won't expect it. They think humans always choose survival over sacrifice. They're about to learn how wrong they are. The call went out across the resistance network. Every available ship, every fighter who could hold a weapon, every person willing to stand up was asked to converge on the hammer's location. The response was overwhelming. Marcus Vale, fresh from securing Corvus 7, immediately volunteered. So did thousands of others. But most surprisingly, entire fleets from the Zephrani, Brocan, and other allied species joined the assault. Humanity's courage had infected the galaxy. The battle for Earth would be remembered as the turning point of the war. 300 rebel ships, most of them barely armed, faced off against the Dominion's elite fleet of 50 battlecruisers surrounding the Hammer of Silence. Sarah Chen led the assault personally, piloting a captured Dominion fighter. All units, remember the plan. We don't need to destroy their fleet. We just need to get through to the hammer. The space around the weapon erupted in chaos. Rebel ships dove through defensive formations, taking tremendous losses but never stopping. For every ship destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. The Dominion had expected a tactical battle. Instead, they faced beings willing to die for their freedom. Marcus Vale's corvette punched through the defensive line, his ship trailing flame and atmosphere. I'm hit bad, but I can reach the hammer. Tell my daughter she's free. His ship slammed into the weapon's control node, detonating in a blast that sent ripples through the massive structure. Others followed, each impact weakening the hammer's structural integrity. Then something extraordinary happened. A Dominion battlecruiser broke formation and began firing on the hammer. Then another. The crews, witnessing the sacrifice of so many for their freedom, turned on their masters. The Dominion had ruled through fear for so long they forgot what inspiration could do. Overlord Zexus Theta watched in disbelief as his ultimate weapon crumbled under the combined assault. His empire, built over 3 millennia, was collapsing in mere hours. He had one last option: retreat to the core worlds and try to rebuild. But as his command ship turned to flee, Sarah Chen's voice echoed across all channels. Zexus Theta, this is Commander Chen of the Human Resistance. You asked us to submit or face annihilation. We choose neither. We choose freedom. The Hammer of Silence exploded in a brilliant flash that could be seen from Earth. The symbol of Dominion power was gone, destroyed by those they had considered inferior. The war wasn't over. It would take years to fully liberate the galaxy. But in that moment, as debris from the hammer drifted through space, everyone knew things had changed. The Dominion's aura of invincibility was broken. On Earth, in the ruins of what was once New York, an old woman looked up at the night sky and saw the flash of the explosion. She had been a child when the Dominion came. Now, tears streaming down her weathered face, she whispered, "We rose. We finally rose." Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the captured Dominion battlecruiser, now flagship of the Free Galaxy Alliance. Around her, humans and aliens worked side by side. The galaxy had burned under tyranny for 3,000 years. But when pushed to the brink, when all seemed lost, humanity didn't break. They rose. And when they rose, they brought the galaxy with them. The Dominion would learn what every oppressor throughout human history had learned. You can chain the body, but you cannot chain the human spirit. And when that spirit breaks free, it changes worlds. In the years that followed, historians would debate what made the difference. Was it humanity's stubborn refusal to accept defeat? Their ability to inspire others? Their talent for turning weaknesses into strengths? Perhaps it was all of these things. Or perhaps it was something simpler. Humans had a saying, old as their species: the darkest hour is just before dawn. The galaxy had endured its darkest hour. Now finally the dawn had come.